Woohoo! We be live. We be live. How's it going, you guys? Audio on. What's up, you guys? Just wanted to touch base with you guys. Maybe I should do this Friday night stream on a regular basis. Well, it's Saturday morning actually, so most of y'all might actually be asleep. So, just wanted to touch base with you guys. Hopefully, you will see this when you wake up, or maybe sometime later. We've been having some fun. Liberal media's been on a bit of a downward spiral. This is good news and bad news. And a lot of my fellow brethren on the right, they think it's really good news, and I hope they're right. But I have my skepticism. So what am I talking about? You guys have recently heard, I want to say a little less than a month ago, CNN was laying off some of its workers. They didn't call it laying off. They said voluntary buyout. It's laying off, from what I understand. Well, they're doing some more, and they're also losing market value. This is something from Summit News, Paul Joseph Watson's site. By the way, if you guys haven't checked out summit.news, you really should. From what I can understand, this is a one-man operation, and Paul Joseph Watson does a pretty good job. So what are we talking about? CNN announced yet more job layoffs as boss Jeff Zucker revealed the network losing its $10 million a year. That's a big loss. And by the way, CNN is no longer CNN. It was acquired by AT&T and some other big corporations. We'll talk a little bit about it in detail. So essentially, CNN is losing staff. I mean, it's letting people go. And it's not alone. Vox also, or Vice, laid off 5% of their staff. And let's look at the Hollywood Reporter. They go into a little bit more. By the way, this is the most depressing thing about CNN. Check out this dude's neck. Is this legit? Dang. Anyways, so this recent news, this is from Hollywood Reporter. This is earlier. This was not, yeah, a few months ago. So everybody is bracing for a reorganization. Now, some of you guys might be small business owners, and God, I respect small business owners a lot. But some of you guys may work for a corporate. If you work for a corporate and you've seen this word being thrown around, you know it's time for you to go home and start sending your resumes. That is not a good sign. And so essentially, this is around the CNN. Everybody's bracing for reorganization, which means people know their layoffs. Although CNN head office, they say there won't be any, and they don't call layoffs layoffs. They use fancy words like voluntary buyouts, which is something. Now, this is particularly important. AT&T, as I was saying, CNN is acquired by AT&T. CNN parent company Time Warner and HBO, which like CNN is part of the newly formed Warner Media entity and has also offered buyouts. So CNN essentially is a business model. Now, what we are getting to is that a lot of left-wing media, they are losing ratings, they're losing money, they're laying people off. And there are people on my end of the political spectrum who thinks that's a good thing, and I hope these people are right. But I don't think this is a good thing as far as the context of the country is concerned. So, if we look at the economics behind the left-wing trajectory or the left-wing bias in media, is it entirely ideological? I think part of it is, but a part of it is also economics. See, cable news has been losing its ratings. Every cable news in a vacuum, the entire business model, it's been losing ratings. And CNN, along with MSNBC, have been losing ratings while the greater business that they're in is losing ratings. So one of the reasons why they've been so far left and why they've been so incredibly biased is that they are increasingly forced to cater to a very small or an increasingly small radical demographic. So CNN catering to the far left Antifa types more and more. Part of it is ideological, yes, but a part of it has been economics. There aren't a lot of sane people tuning into CNN. Now, with this round of layoffs, CNN realizes that it's losing ratings more and more among sane people. It'll be forced to cater to a lot of this far left demographic. That's one worrying side. The other worrying thing is with a company hemorrhaging money as they are, they're not going to be able to afford to hire many well informed journalists or many well meaning journalists, most of whom would be able to make an audience or garner an audience of their own. What is more likely is that they will hire cheaper labor. They are a company, they want to reduce cost. And in the journalism business, cheaper labor are these activists. You can hire an activist for a lot less money than you can hire an actual journalist who has a lot of avenue opened up. So CNN, by the looks of it, their business model, given the trajectory that they're going, we're going to see them engage in more far left content. The quality of journalism in these corporations is going to go down, and we're going to see more activism. That seems to be one likely scenario and the most likely scenario. Now, if you guys have watched the headings, this is what I really wanted to talk about. New York Times has just called Don Lemon's show partisan. I agree with that assessment. Don Lemon's show is incredibly partisan and incredibly annoying, but that's a little rich coming from the New York Times. Okay, I don't want to use the metaphor pot calling the kettle black, but nothing else comes to mind. So this is from Breitbart. This is what recently happened. According to Vanity Fair, the Times is once again reinforcing a policy barring its reporters from appearing in cable news programs perceived as overly partisan. In addition to Lemon's program, CNN Tonight, which airs between 10 and 11 p.m. Eastern, the newspaper is asking reporters to avoid MSNBC's Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell and the Rachel Maddow Show. Isn't all of MSNBC very left-wing? In a statement to the Daily Beast, Lemon attempted to downplay this apparent blacklist but was apparently by the report, it would be extremely short-sighted if they are banning reporters from my show when journalism is under attack. You're not a journalist, Lemon. He told editor at Lloyd Grove, we should support each other, period. Shut up, Lemon. So, I think that's, I don't know what to feel about that. So Don Lemon, finally, people on the left are realizing you can't listen to this guy. He's a partisan hack. I would not put MSNBC in the same category as Don Lemon, though. Now, Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell, these guys are left-wing. Probably just as left-wing or Don Lemon, and maybe more. But the thing with MSNBC is that MSNBC never advertises themselves as a neutral platform. MSNBC is fairly open about saying that they give you a left-wing narrative. They give you a left-wing version of the story. That's part of MSNBC's advertising. So MSNBC is one of those left-wing shows that stations that I've never really had much of a problem with because, hey, they say what they are and they hold true to it. Let's listen to this a little bit more. And The Hill, we got to listen to the left as well. The New York Times has begun reinforcing a standing policy that forbids reporters and editors from appearing in cable news opinion programs deemed too partisan. So this includes Rachel Maddow's show. This includes David Enright being appeared. Okay, it includes some other shows as well. Other programs deemed too opinionated and partisan for the Times reporter and editors appear on included CNN Tonight with Don Lemon, MSNBC's Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. It said Fox's Hannity and Tucker Carlson Tonight would also fall into this category. Okay, I agree. Hannity is right-wing. Tucker Carlson, from what I understand, yeah, he does have a conservative slant, but in my estimation, he's very objective to the best of his ability. But, I have my biases too. For a decade, the Rachel Maddow Show has welcomed the best journalists from across the country, celebrated the hard work they do day in and out. The commitment to journalism is part of the DNA of the show. According to the Times Handbook of Values and Practices for the Show and Edge, staff members should avoid shows that emphasize punditry and reckless opinion mongering. Okay, so this is a good thing from the New York Times. And I'm not just saying that because they don't want to play with Don Lemon. They obviously don't want to play with Tucker, who I think is the only reasonable voice on cable news. But I think it's a good thing. Punditry is not journalism, whether it's coming from my side or the other side. That's something fairly important. Now, going back to the economics. The reason why I think this is, we're going to see two things, one of two things in the cable news scenario. Mainstream news is losing ratings. It'll continue to lose ratings, at least for the foreseeable future. That's why they're cracking down on YouTube. They're cracking down on Facebook. YouTube and Facebook really take a lot of heat from mainstream news, mainstream entertainment forums. And yes, they do have ideological alliances, but they don't like independent voices to be heard on YouTube and Facebook. So we're gonna see one of two things in the path that CNN is taking, or will be forced to take rather. We're gonna see them swing further and further to the left as they try to get a bigger stranglehold on whatever little subset of the audience they have left. On the other side of things, you have Fox News. Fox News is trying to be a more middle of the road voice than they once were. What's that lady's name? Donna Brazil. She got hired from Fox News. She got hired in Fox News. Fox News is really trying to get more of the centrist people onto their network. That is perhaps the only way that news media will survive, because the entire business is losing in ratings. And I think New York Times is trying to do something similar. Although when New York Times calls someone way too far left, I think the people that New York Times is calling far left should feel a little insulted, and also maybe New York Times should uh, engage in some introspection. But I think we're starting to see some sanity in some of the news medium. Mainstream media, whether it be print, whether it be cable news, there's if they don't take a middle of the road approach, they don't have any chance of survival. New York Times for a long time have been struggling to sell their publications. So I'm pretty interested to see what's going to happen. I just found this whole thing to be really funny. And I think I'm going to use this picture of Don Lemon as my thumbnail. Because, God, this just sums up so beautifully. So, June 1st, 2019, liberal outlet New York Times decides to not play with Don Lemon and Rachel Maddow because they're too far left. How beautiful is it? Are the seeds of sanity being planted? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. Alright, you guys, I've rambled on